I thank the member for Shortland. Are there any constituency statements? I call the member for Hughes.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. This afternoon I'm calling for the New South Wales Year 10 history textbook called Pearson's History New South Wales 10 SB to be withdrawn from all New South Wales schools. This textbook contains significant errors of fact, and there are many sections of it that are little more than green alarmism, masquerading as history. A few examples. On page 115 it states, climate change is noticeable in Australia with more frequent extreme weather events. However, Madam Deputy Speaker, the most authoritative conclusion by the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on climate change says that it is not even clear whether floods have increased or decreased over the past century. If we look at cyclones, clearly the peer-reviewed science says they are declining in Australia. If we look at fires on a global scale, again the peer-reviewed science says they are declining. And it doesn't just stop there. Another quote from this history textbook that Year 10 students are taught in New South Wales. It says, Prime Minister Tony Abbott made international headlines as a climate change denier. The denier smear, calling someone a climate change denier, is a reprehensible method to attempt to discredit a person and to anyone who questions any aspect of climate change dogma, likening them to Holocaust deniers. And further, the words made international headlines gives this slur a veiled attempt at legitimacy. But what international headlines said Tony Abbott was a climate change denier? Other than perhaps the Socialist International or Green Left blogs, I've not found any such international headline. It appears the author of this textbook simply made it up. This is not good enough to be taught in our schools. It also says that the government response to climate change is varied, and it goes on, Prime Minister Julia Gillard introduced a minerals resource rent tax on the 1st of July 2012. Now that is correct, the Prime Minister Gillard did introduce that minerals resource rent tax. The disaster it was which had to be repealed, but it had nothing to do with climate change. One only has to read through the second reading speeches and clearly see there's no reference whatsoever. It was simply a tax grab. Again, the author shows that they have no idea what they are talking about, and this text is completely unfit. We have an obligation to make sure that our children in our schools are taught the facts about our nation's climate history without political bias. This textbook clearly contains political bias, and it should be withdrawn from our schools at the earliest possible opportunity.
I thank the member for Hughes for his contribution, and I call the member for Franklin.